Hello, fine folks, and welcome to Booghy Plays. Today I am not playing, I am playing with questions, as I often say when I do these kinds of interviews. My guest today is the other half of Spellen. I would call it indie, small publisher from the Netherlands or Holland, or I think I'm gonna I, from let's say the Netherlands, a small company which makes different games, not say games which are different in a lot of ways, and we will be talking about a bit about these games. And I am very pleased to talk today with Jeroen Doumen.
Yes, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure, and we finally got to agree on a date that we were both available.
Yep, I want to thank you. I think it's been around a year since I did the interview with Joris. It has been it has been a while since I managed to get you two.
Definitely, usually it's the other way around.
Yeah. Welcome. How is the weather? Are you in the? Because there's Holland. There's everything is part of the Netherlands. How is it exactly?
It's Holland is a smaller part of the Netherlands.
Yeah.
So Joris actually lives in Holland, in Leiden.
In
I
Leiden.
don't live in Eindhoven, which is a bit further south.
Yeah, and you have a better football team.
This year, yes. I'm not, I'm not a football fan, but I I hear they're doing quite well this year. Weather-wise, it's warm today. We just had a small thunderstorm, but it's blown over again, I think. So
Nice. So it's a good evening for an interview, I would say. If the weather is fine, it's good to stay indoors.
definitely.
This interview is about you, like I said, and it's going to have two parts. The first part is about you. The second one is also about you, but it's a fast questionnaire. And I'm quite curious. I don't know if you have seen the one with Joris, but I'm quite curious.
Actually, it's still on my playlist. So I'm sorry to say I haven't managed to get around to watching it yet.
You, I'm curious after you do the questionnaire at the end. If you're gonna be curious to watch his answers. But I will start with the first part of our interview, and let's go. We're gonna go way back, way back, and with my first question, which is, where were you born, and where did you grow up?
Um, I I was actually born in Germany, well, West Germany at the time, because that's where my father was working, and I lived there until I was 3 years old. Almost three. My sister was born, and my parents moved back to the Netherlands,
I see.
and I grew up all the way in the south of the Netherlands in Limburg in Landgraaf.
Okay.
Uh,
Where in the Germany? Where in Germany? Where did you?
uh, Warstein.
Warstein. Oh, okay. Um, so you're a German citizen.
No, actually, I don't think I ever was a German citizen.
No. You were born there. Normally, when you're born
Yep.
in a country, you get that citizenship. No.
It depends on the country. For some countries, you automatically get the citizenship of your parents. For other countries, well, like famously the US, you get citizenship if you're born in that country.
Yeah. And
But
Canada.
not everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You need yeah, Germans give you citizenship only after you take some tests, probably. So.
possibly. Um, I think at some point I could choose to get German citizenship, but that would be instead of my Dutch citizenship.
I
So
see. Now, you moved back to the south of the Netherlands. How was your childhood there? How was it to grow up? I suppose you're a child of the 70s or the 80s?
Uh, I, I was born in 75, so
More or less of the 80s.
yeah.
How were the 80s back then? What could you do in the south of Netherlands in the 80s as a child?
Oof, that's a long time ago. I mean, but one of the things I did a lot of was playing computer games. We had my father was working as well. We'd call it network engineer nowadays. So he also sometimes he borrowed from work a computer that I could play on and with, and we fairly soon had a small ZX81 computer,
Okay.
which which was really fun to play with. We even had an extra 16 kilobytes of memory, so we could do some bigger games. Yeah, the same came with 1 kilobyte of memory by default, so it's unimaginable today.
Yeah. 1 kilobyte. 1 kilobyte.
Yeah, a whole kilobyte.
A full kilobyte.
Yep.
Um,
Ac-
so
Actually, I played a lot of text adventure games on that machine as well, so that's where I learned a lot of English.
I see. So your father was a computer technician or a network engineer.
Yep.
What was your mother's profession?
She was originally a nurse, but so she quit when I was born to take
To take
care
care
of
of. Okay.
me and my sister later.
So you have a sister,
Yes.
um, 3 years younger than you. How was growing with a sister? Did you play together? Did you have the same interests?
Um, not that much. So we played quite a bit of card games as a family. So my mother would also play card games, not other things. I did play other board games with my father, well, and chess and checkers and all the classic stuff. I I I was in a local chess club. Was through high school essentially.
I see. So let's not move too far away. Let's take it step by step. What were your interests when you were a child in school and also outside of school?
Um, Oof, hard to remember, but I think computer games was always fun. I love reading primarily fantasy or science fiction books.
And in school, did you have some favorite subjects?
Um, I, I was always quite good in school, so I liked almost all this the more scientific subjects, math, physics, chemistry.
I see. I see. So you were good with the mathematical on the mathematical stuff. Let's say it. Uh,
Yeah, no,
the
definitely.
sciences, the sciences part of the
Yes.
school, and uh, as you say, did you there in your area? Did you play a lot outside? Did you have I don't know. Did you play sports? Were there a lot of kids in your area? How was playing when you were a child? What playing meant when you were a child?
Um, well, there were definitely plenty of kids, but we also we played video games together, and later also board games. I wa- at least as a kid, I was never someone who did a lot of sports.
I see. I see. I see. So you started to play a board game since you were a child. in your childhood?
As, essentially, yes. Also, one of the catalysts probably. My mother was a volunteer at yeah, what's the English? I'm not sure what the English word is. Let's just call it a game library.
Okay, yeah. You had a game library there?
Yeah, so there and where just like a normal library where you can borrow books for a
Yeah.
couple of weeks, you could borrow games.
A- and what games were there in the library? What games could you find there in the library?
Um, all, all kinds of stuff, but mostly more of the mainstream games. So, and I don't even remember that much what things there were. But well, we owned Risk, but that's probably was in the library too. But things like Clue, I think, was in the library. There was uh,
Mo-
simple game called Viersprong in Dutch,
I see, I see.
which I would have to look up what the English name was if there even was one. But was a lot of the more mainstream games from the Jumbo and Ravensburger, etc.
I see. You are starting to say that because your mother was a volunteer there. She could bring out games for you to play,
Yeah.
and uh, well, a part of why I like these interviews is because I learn a lot about people's past and how different some people play as you did since you were a child. Some people find games way later in life. Um, did you have, let's say, game nights? Did you have family nights of gaming? Were these things usual for you?
Um, not really. I think though we did we did play regularly. I would say, but it wasn't specifically a game night or an event. It was just let's play a game and we played the game.
And the family was because I do think a part of our developing as a human being in family has a big say in that in our development. Did your parents were open to do these things a lot of times with you and your sister?
Yeah, definitely. My father liked it more, and still likes that more. So uh, played more with him than my mother, but definitely both or all of them open to it.
To it, okay. Um, so let's go a bit. So you, I don't know how the system, the educational system is in Holland or the Netherlands, but in Romania, it's you have 8 years of school and then you go to high school after those 8 years. Um, More or less the same is, I believe, in other parts. It's 7 years plus or 9 plus 3 or something like that. Um, where did you go to you went to for you went to high school in the same area or you went somewhere else?
No, I went in the same area. So in the Netherlands, I think currently it's also it's well, primary and secondary school is 8 years together, but when I was young, it was still 6 years, and the kindergarten part was optional. So I did 6 years, and that was just a local school, and then to high school, I went another 6 years to a gymnasium in well, essentially the next city over. So I just biked there every day
Okay,
with, with classmates from the same area.
I see, I see. And in this period, gaming was a big part of your life. Did you discover something new?
Yeah, definitely. So I already was playing chess quite a bit. So I joined the high school chess club and was part of local chess club, but also that's around the time that Axis and Allies came out. So that's a game I got probably as a gift from either my parents or grandparents. I don't remember to be fair, but we played that a lot. Both with my father a bit and also with school friends.
I see.
And at some point, I discovered a mail order catalog, and there was this game Civilization that sounded intriguing, so I ordered that. And
From mail order from where?
from 999 Games in Netherlands. So they started out as a mail order company, and I found an ad somewhere that said and was like, "Oh, this sounds like fun. Let's try that."
I see. So yeah, 999, I think, right? And I think it's a
Yeah.
company still today in Netherlands, no?
It's still a company today, so they transitioned from mail order and being an importer of games to also a game publisher.
Yeah, yeah. After so you were in the chess team after school, after high school, you went to university. What did you study in university?
I studied physics and mathematics, so I went to Leiden University, um, essentially because that was the only university in the country that offered a combined start to both of those studies. And I couldn't really choose, so I said, well, we'll just start doing both, and then after a year, after the first part is finished, I'll pick one, whichever I like most.
I see. And
But I never chose, so I finished both. It was going quite well, so
I
I
see.
just I just finished both.
It's easier, I say.
Yeah. And well, then I guess you can say after that I did a PhD in mathematics, so I finally picked one.
I, okay. Again, picking the easy route. Um, so, having such a mathematical, probably that made you a pretty good chess player. Did you play chess in university?
Hardly anymore because I actually I met Joris very early on in my first year, and we were part of the same student society, and we started organizing game days there with five of us,
I see.
and that grew quite big. So we actually founded our own student society dedicated to board
Board
games,
games, yeah.
card games, etc. And that's still going strong today. So that's something to be proud of.
Yeah. How many years since then?
That's 25-ish.
Oh, it's been a while, hasn't it?
Oh, 30, no, almost 30, I think even. I think I'm getting old.
When you speak about Joris, for someone who watches, Joris is the other part of Spellen, Joris Wierzinga. You can find the interview with him on the channel. We did it almost a year ago, and then he spoke a little bit about you two meeting at university in Leiden. How did the friendship start? Was it was an instant connection? What how did it start all?
I see. I think it was a relatively instant connection because our joint love for gaming, essentially, and also similar types of games, similar well, how to say similar ideas about games.
I see. So you had kind of the same tastes when you were gaming, and it was
Yeah.
easy to go do that. Um, when did you find? So you majored in both. You finished. You did a PhD in mathematics. What is your profession today? What do you do today?
Today I'm a security architect at a small startup company.
I see.
That-
IT.
and
IT.
I was also one of the founders. So exciting day still.
And so I gather that you never stopped gaming. There are, there are people who say, "Well, I have played games until university. Then in university I found girls and things, and then I stopped gaming for a while, and then I find game, and then I found games again later." I gather that that was not your route. You played games constantly throughout university and throughout your life. Um,
Yeah, definitely. Maybe the type of games I play
changed.
changed a little.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's well, there's well, comparing between now and well, let's say early days in university. There's so many more games now,
Yeah.
and my budget has grown, so uh, it's it's much more common that I have a game and I only play it once. While that was unthinkable. Let's say at start of university because you picked the game carefully, but there weren't that many choices, and you played it a lot.
Played it to death. Yeah.
Yeah, unless it really was a dud.
um, and where when did you find the I call it modern board games? Um, were you let's say did you find it then in the mid 90s when the let's say Eurogame craziness started to come? Let's say I would say the craziness came after 2000 2010, but starting with Settlers of Catan, the things changed a bit in the
Yeah,
games. When did you find and what modern games, and how did you find it?
um, yeah. I think almost starting with Civilization when I got that, I would still qualify that as more as a modern game, even though it was from the 70s. But so we played a lot of things. We already were playing a lot of well, they were called German board games
Yeah.
at the time because they were in German from Germany and all that. Even just before Settlers of Catan came out.
Yeah, yeah.
I remember we played a whole lot of Settlers of Catan, and we were almost done with it by the time it won Spiel des Jahres.
Yes, yes, please go on.
But it remains really a great game, and we also started going to Essen Spiel, so to the big game fair, with the gaming society. So I think the first time I went, well, the first time they went, they didn't ask me. So, but there wasn't room in the car anyway. Yeah.
So,
So you
what
so you actually went 1 year before I did.
before you did? And when did you go for the first time to Essenspiel? What year do you remember?
Um, 95, I think.
95. So Essenspiel was already back then a well-known fair.
Oh, yes, definitely. It yeah, it really was.
Okay. So these days, I want to ask you what kind of a player you are these days. What do you enjoy? What do you play outside? We take out the play testing for your own games. We don't talk about those. What
Yep.
what do you, maybe I don't know? Do you play any party games? Do you play, I don't know, casual games? Do you manage to play some of these, or maybe heavier ones? And what do you
Uh,
enjoy?
I, I would almost say all of them. But I, I would say one of my mottos is I'll play any game at least once.
Okay.
It it also depends on which friend group I'm playing with. I play a lot of games with my girlfriend, so we play almost daily. We're actually playing the Ticket to Ride Legacy campaign right now, so we're about two-thirds through, I think.
Oh, see, I see.
And other than that, let's see. Last weekend I played Stellar Horizons for the first time, so that's a really long, complex American style game. Not 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 really a war game, but lot of random event, lot of die rolling. Good fun. And yeah, I can enjoy party games. I think one type of game I'm always most excited about is the 18xx. That's the series of games I just love the most myself.
Those are longer games also.
Those are long and heavy games. Yes.
Yeah. So, do you enjoy? Do you play, let's say, shorter Euro games? Call it German style games, Italian style games. Do you like these, or you navigate towards the heavier, longer ones?
I navigate a bit towards the heavier, longer ones usually, but I definitely also enjoy the Euro games. I think last night we played well, on the underground, which
It's a
I wouldn't call heavy.
no, no, by no means. That's not a heavy game. I see. So you remain an active player, practically.
Yeah, yes,
Oh,
definitely. And I I also buy a lot of games and I want to play them because I buy the games to play them, not
to look at
not to
them.
just have them in my cupboard and look at them.
Yeah. Um, at some point, you so you are always a gamer. You were in the chess yeah team. You founded a gamer society. When did you start thinking to jump ship and be, let's make my game? So let's make my own game.
Yeah, it grew somewhat naturally from the gaming society because it was essentially twofold because we were organizing all kinds of activities. One of them were game design days where we were just taking an evening or even a weekend and saying let's make a new game. One of the things that didn't come out of that, but that also so I started with Joris. So if you remember, there was in the 90s there was a computer game called Settlers. There's
Okay.
there's a gazillion sequels. They still make some now, I think. But it was almost a mellow resource conversion game. So you chop trees, you have a sawmill, make it into logs, build buildings with the logs and stone, et cetera, et cetera. At some point, you make weapons and attack your neighbors. But there even was a two-player mode, even back then on the simple PCs, where you could attach two mice to your PC. Every player got half of the screen to do their thing. And that was a lot of fun. That Joris and I had. That was also a big inspiration for making Roads and Boats. So we were like, well, let's make a board game out of this.
About cutting the screen in two.
Essentially about excuse me, essentially about logistics.
Yeah. So yeah, and how did you, or yeah, you started thinking, but in the end, it got to more than that. To, to,
Yep.
I want to know a little bit more about that process. About let's try to do this more. This idea of creating games, and I don't know, maybe sell them.
Yeah. So at the very start, I I I wasn't part of that yet. So there was and Tamara and Joris and Herman decided to just say, well, let's rent a booth at Essen. We'll make a few games by hand.
Which were
And
which was the first game?
um, there were I forget there were three games I think. There was Tetragon, so which later became Oraclos. There was Web. That was one that I also co-designed with Joris, and there was the Draf, the car racing game, and we had a booth together with Corné from Quali
Yeah.
and Psydon as well. So with three Dutch game publishers, we just rented the booth and sold games. I think we had the games in VHS boxes because that was much cheaper than cardboard boxes.
Yeah.
And we made 30 copies of each by hand.
Yeah. Joris talked about that process,
Yep.
and you are successful.
Um, well, yes and no, because our original mission was to make cheaper games, cheaper and smaller games that everybody could enjoy. But already, I think in the first year and the second year at Essen, we were still working on Roads and Boats. We had a beautiful prototype, so we brought that along. That was just visible in the stand, and everybody kept asking, "What's that game over there? What's that game over there?" And then in '99, so that was the third or the fourth year, probably the third year, we actually made copies by hand and sold those, and they were not small and they were not cheap.
But yeah, but when you think of how many components Roads and Boats have,
Yep.
you can't make it that cheap. It's full of
No,
cardboard.
no, no, exactly. And so with that, we really started into well the more heavier economic games that we are famous for.
Yeah. What is your approach to game design? Because by no means you go for light and simple and fast.
No, so that's I think uh, a advantage of not doing game design well as a main profession, neither for me nor Joris. So we can take our time working on the game, tinkering on the game, and if the game is not ready this year, well, that's fine. We can work another half year, another year on it, or even discard the idea and start something else, which we've also done. And if your livelihood depends on it, that's a bit harder.
Yep.
But really, so our approach usually is we want to at least try and get a unique new mechanism that's in the game. So we usually try and tinker with some mechanisms, see if we could make that into fun. Spend time on that, see how that could work, could be made into a game. and both that and usually with some type of theme attached to it. Not always. I mean, for example, Horseless Carriage started out as being a game about excuse me.
No problem. No
So
issues. No issues.
yeah. So Horseless Carriage started out as a game about food taste. So it had different axes of a salty, sour, etc. And you could put customers there who preferred those types of food, and there was a very abstract market, um, which
Did not work as you
yeah,
wanted.
exactly. Which some parts worked, other parts didn't work at all, and then we got into the changing axis, which which worked really well. At some point, we also went, let's take something more tangible and go for car manufacturing, or really early car manufacturing. We visited. Oh, actually, Joris visited more, but we visited the car museum here in the Netherlands that had a few of the really early automobiles where, well, there was no steering wheel.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
There's also the famous stories of what the car races with early cars, and when they were going downhill, they would take a tree trunk and tie it to the back of their car so they could slow down. And after that, it was like maybe brakes are a good idea, and
Yeah.
all the, all those things of rapid technological innovation at the start, where you have no clue what's needed, what people will want, need, etc. And that was really fun to bake into a game.
Yeah.
And for the longest time, we also had a different market mechanism where all the, let's say, remaining buyers on the market would reset to the axis that was being removed. So you would sweep everything onto one side of the board, and the next time
I see.
it would sweep vertically and then horizontally, which took a ridiculous amount of time. So we cut it out, and the game worked much better.
I see. You scraped the idea. So,
Well, that idea, yes.
do you did you ever think about designing something on your own? You enjoy working with Joris more than you enjoy working alone?
It's well, yeah, yes, because it's also because it's part of a hobby. I think we work together really well and really nicely in that regard, in making stuff together. I did one thing without Joris, so I made the Pandemic Rising Tide to get together with Matt
With
Leacock,
Matt Leacock, yeah. Uh,
which was also great fun, but um, a, a lot less work than one of our Splotter games. Let's put it that way.
I see. You do these, let's say, longer, quirkier um, games. All of your games have all of your games are different. You usually do not really find one thing which is in a game, you won't find it in another game. They're pretty different. They feel different. Every game that you make feels different. I have not played the Horseless Carriage. That's the only one I have not played. So, did you actively try to do this to make every game seem like it's different designers doing it? The only thing that is different is the fact that it will burn your brain at the end of it.
Yes.
It's this, yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Well, we try to start with a new and unique mechanism, so that levitates towards a different game automatically, and it's also, I mean, I think we famously said after we made Buzz, which is one of the first games that has worker placement, we were working on a different game that also had worker placement, and we were like, we already did we already used this mechanism. Nobody will want a second game with this mechanism.
And they sell like hotcakes. What worker
What do
placement?
we know?
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's also really in that discovery phase and creating something new that, well, I think both Joris and myself really get pleasure and satisfaction out of,
Yep.
and retreading something and making a new version of the previous game doesn't interest us that much
it's
usually.
it's not even that. It's the idea that some things will feel should feel familiar from one game to the other, and it does not. I mean, what the Great Zimbabwe is in a way, food chain in one way, roads and boats in a completely different way. Um, uh, Indonesia again, completely different. So that's what I was saying. So let's move forward. And I do have a question. All your games play better at 4 players, at higher player count than they usually play at lower player count. Do you? It's an intentional decision, or is something that you manage to play a lot at higher player counts than, or the way you design is designed for higher player counts?
I s- I don't know exactly why that is. I mean, there's always a difference between two-player games and
Yeah,
multiplayer games, because two-player is much more zero sum, and a lot of our games you can play perfectly at two-player, but it's a very different experience.
yep, yep,
And even for horseless carriage, we decided that this the whole trading phase, etc., with two players doesn't really work that well. So even though mechanically you could play the two players, it wasn't fun enough to put two players on the box. But but I digress a bit. So we don't consciously design for 4 players. I think definitely most of the early play tests we have usually three people playing, maybe four. But one of the things that's often in our games is that they are self-balancing in a way, in that there's some type of auction, or people set prices, or it's player interaction that sets balance, and that's stops some people from winning, etc. And that type of mechanism probably works better at higher player counts.
yep, yep, yep. So you have touched on one important thing when we think and we talk about game design, which is the balance of a game. You and you have made a joke about it, which is called the catch-up mechanism. In a game, you have created an expansion to a game, which is called the catch-up mechanism. And do you of course you have also said that yeah, I don't know if it's exactly yours, but there is that saying that Splotter, um, uh, in a way or another, if you have if you can't lose a game on your on first turn, why there should be a first turn then? um,
Yeah, I think Joris said that in an interview some time ago. But yes, definitely.
so balancing, is it hard to do? How can you create a balance? Is there Because I don't know if you can create the perfect balance in a game. How can you do that? How can you balance perfectly a game?
I, I don't know if you can. I uh, if you press me, I'd probably say that you cannot perfectly balance a game. And thinking a bit further through that, I also think that if you have a perfectly balanced game, that it probably would be boring.
In a way, yeah. Probably,
And
yeah.
in a way, and not much fun. But it's it's also maybe a bit a reaction against so some of the Euro games which are not now I'm stereotyping a lot, so please forgive me for that. But which are a lot multiplayer solitaire, so every player is doing their own board, doing their own thing. Everything you do will score you some points, and after 1 hour, after 2 hours, you look up and see whoever has done the best by some metric, and the metric being you get points
Yeah.
for everything you do, and a bit more for this and a bit less for that,
Yeah.
and that's not not as much fun. I mean, a game should have interaction between players. At least for me, that makes for a lot more memorable moments in a game where that yours blocked me from doing that, or I I prevented that from happening, and all those player interactions, and hopefully also positive interactions, are a lot more fun for me, or for us.
Yeah, because there can be, because we are talking about interaction, there can be negative interaction. I mean, uh, do you do you try to prevent that in a game?
Um, not not specifically, but I mean a positive interaction is usually more fun for
Because
most people.
be,
Let's put it that way. But I mean, famously, well, if you make if you make a bad mistake in, say, food chain in turn one, and you hire the wrong employee,
yeah,
then you probably don't have a chance of winning anymore unless other players make similar mistakes, which can definitely happen.
yeah, not if you know the game. Nope, nope. And you came now that you have talked a bit about food chain. Um, in food chain, you in a way you create a few turns which are a bit scripted. You need to do certain things to start the game correctly. But talking about player interaction and positive interaction, do you look as a designer to create a way for players to make to by making certain moves, they do good for themselves, they might do bad for others, but first and foremost they do good for themselves, uh,
Yes, definitely.
or because that can be a positive interaction. Okay, I might do something that hurts you, but that does the best for me. But if sometimes that can be, I can do a bad move just to do a bad move to, well, screw with you, to make you feel bad. Do you actively look to take out moments like this in your games?
It's it depends. I mean, that's different from game to game. I think sometimes we've definitely taken out some things, but those are things that grow organically in a way, and it depends a bit on the theme as well, if it fits or not.
I see.
And also with, well, talking about food chain again, but when we finished it, we were quite nervous in that this game has let's say very sharp edges, and there is quite a bit of that quite a bit of that interaction that you can build up a corner of the board where you're happily selling stuff, and then somebody else comes in and takes over everything and
Yeah.
sells everything.
Yeah. If you don't pay attention, that can happen.
Yeah,
Yeah.
ex exactly. So we were quite nervous about it, and also when promoting the game at start, we said, well, be careful, don't buy this if you don't like that type of interaction, because this is very sharp,
Yeah.
and people still loved it.
Yeah. Well, it is a game that when I say I've heard this, with some newer players which have played and said, "Oh, it's not that bad." Well, you haven't played with the right people then.
Yep.
And there is what I like about it is the fact that if you don't start the if someone there is a chance to still if you don't start completely badly, you can until the end maybe get close to second if you don't and you do smart moves afterwards. But you need at certain points you need to do and be very careful of what you do and profit
Yeah.
of every mistake that others do. It's a game you need to be always on your toes. And I think the same is the Great Zimbabwe is in the same way. I have to profit there I have to profit very well of what others do and be very careful of where I'm building, what I'm building, in order to profit at maximum of the resources that are there. And I think there you have. I think there your experience in chess came to the outmost because there can be you can foresee some things in the future. If someone builds there, this will happen. You can foresee something.
Yep. In my mind, those two are quite different, because at its heart, Food Chain is a game where all players are on an exponential growth curve, and the question is, I start slower, but my exponent will grow up
Yep.
much quicker. But is the game over before I overtake you or not?
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's really the difference between the three openings that were in the original game. Though apparently I'm the only one who can make a marketing opening work sometimes.
I see.
So everybody always says start with a trainer or with recruiting.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which are the two other strategies, but we also wanted starting with marketing as a strategy. But
You're the one who can make it work. You're the only one in the world, huh? I see.
maybe, and it's also not an all board layout, etc. So that's also one thing that we changed a little in the expansion, especially with the new milestones. Marketing is much more powerful.
I see. I haven't played the expansion. I have no idea.
Okay, that's by design, that marketing is much more powerful there.
I see.
But the Great Zimbabwe is much more chess-like, as you say, in having moves and counter moves, and
Yep.
saying I need to do this now, otherwise you get to do this, and then in 3 turns you win.
Yeah. Exactly.
Because Zimbabwe also has the very strange property that the more experience you get, the longer your games get.
Yeah. I have not played more than 3 Zimbabwe, so I'd never found it too much of a long game. But probably if you play with 5, you're probably right. Probably.
But even if you play with the same group and are learning the moves and counter moves, probably probably your first games will be relatively quick, and then the next few games it's like, oh, he did that, and I have to counter that, and the game goes a bit longer.
I see. Yeah, probably. You have to be careful of what
Yeah.
gods they take and everything. Yeah. So let's go to one more question which I have, which is Splotter is known about artwork, which is almost none. Or yeah, let's if why outside, let's say, Bus, which the new there is no reason to play on the old board. I mean, the new board is looks good. um,
It, it definitely does, yes.
um, why did you I don't know, keep why why not go for something prettier sometimes?
Um, well, on on one hand, I I don't know. This is graphic style we really like, and each game has its own style. It has its own thing, and works works pretty well. Uh, I think so. There's definitely sacrifices made to improve playability. I mean, if you there's there's valid criticisms. Things can be prettier, but often that means the visibility or you get the overview you have of the game state. Is harder. So that's something that we always focus on a lot. And uh, a game doesn't always have to have the same, let's say, baroque art style that
Yeah, of course.
almost every other game now has, and that people like. I mean, a game should have its own character.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I'm listening. I'm listening to you. Yeah,
And also for years we've worked with the same graphic designer, so Inze, who did a lot of great work for us, and it very interestingly he is extremely good at making something into one coherent whole. And we always had fights about exactly what I just said. So about if we have this, the overview of the game isn't easy enough. So we should change that and make it, well, uglier. It's not the right word for me, but in a sense uglier. So something stands out more, because you should be able to think about the game states more easily by just looking at the board, and not having to think about, well, what is that thing on the board? Does that mean this or this?
I think there are ways
Probably.
you can do it that also looks pretty, and I can find. But this is the Splotter way. This is always has been the Splotter way, and
Yep.
I have my yeah. I think there is a who watches this now have an answer. Um,
Yeah, and also on art, there was one thing at least we found funny, but that was for the Duck Dealer,
oh yeah.
because until probably probably even until Food Chain, so Duck Dealer is the only game for which we made original artwork. That was a year that Inze wasn't available, so we graphic design was done by somebody else. And Duck Dealer was the first game that was criticized for using stock art. Well, well, that was the first game for which we had original artwork.
It was stock art. Yeah, interesting.
But that was the criticism,
Yeah.
and it's in a way valid, in that Duck Dealer, well, all the artwork and all the drawings are good. I like all of them, but they're not really one coherent whole,
I see.
as is the case for all our other games. I would say.
I have not played Duck Dealer. I only know the cover of Duck Dealer. That's all I know about
Yep.
it. uh, and I think Greed also is a game that you did. Um, but out of all, let's say you have the there were big five. Now it's six with horseless carriage. I know you are working on some newer games. I do have a question. On all of these games you are working on, who does the designing and who does the developing of the game, and who takes the sword and says this needs to be chopped off?
Um, but both yours and myself really, because it's we, and I don't know if we really have a design and or a separate design and development stage. In a way, yes, but I call that more of a refining stage
Yeah.
when we get something that we call a game. But we often start by, as I said earlier, by thinking with a mechanism, and then that slowly grows into a game. I mean, also, I mean, the thing we're currently working on, we're essentially still in those tinkering stages, mo mostly. So there isn't even a victory condition yet. There's an idea of what the victory condition could be, but it's not it's not set yet, and that's often the case. A victory condition will come later,
I see.
and and maybe also the start will come later, because that's referring back to food chain again. For the longest time, so the CEO didn't have any abilities, and you started the game with the CEO and one of each of the starting cards.
Yeah.
And that worked fine for experienced players who knew what they were doing. But um, this whole slow build-up was a suggestion of one of our playtesters, saying, "Why don't you just only start with the CEO and give him a recruiting ability?" And in that way, the first few turns are very quick. They are a bit scripted, definitely, because some there are a lot of things you definitely shouldn't do. But in a way, it's also a sort of tutorial for the game. This is how this game works. The first few turns you get to experience quickly. You walk through all the things.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
So I think that it improves the game tremendously.
So you managed to both wear both caps, the designer and the developer cap. Um, do you find it easy to chop things off, to take out things which you might care about, or
No, that's that's a very easy answer. I think Joris and I always have long discussions over maybe we should chop this off, and then one of us says no, we should keep it, and maybe we should change it and try this, and then at some point we agree, well, let's just try it once with the whole thing left out, and then we never put it back.
um, yeah. So well, it's not an easy job, is it? Um, now,
No, but luckily it is a lot of fun.
now there is a thing which is streamlining. How do you usually a game starts with maybe a lot of ideas or adds lots of idea. How do you know at some point that this is it, or this needs to be chopped off? How much can you go into streamlining in order to make a game which suits your needs, let's say, or suits an audience needs, depend on the way you think about it?
Yeah, I think we don't really design a game for an audience. We mostly design a type of game that we like to play ourselves. And we also have had instances where we streamlined the game and then nothing remained that was enough fun to actually play. So we just cut that project and started something new. But yeah, I always at least like to think that the streamlining is done when you can't remove anything anymore. That's
Even
that's
though it can
that
be overly complex.
yeah.
Yep. Um, but in a way, yeah, designing a thing which you enjoy sometimes might not be for everyone. So that's a thing
No,
which, yeah, you have to
that,
take into
that,
consideration.
definitely. So uh, that's certainly what happened with Duck Dealer, because that's a really mathematical type game, which suits me.
I see.
And Greed is really Joris' game, with all the negotiation that's in there,
I see.
and that's also what we were afraid of for Food Chain. It's like this is a game we really like, but will will it find an audience?
Well, you just have to send it out there and see what happens.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I think this is. I'm almost done. I do want to ask you one more question when it comes to designing and publishing. You went for this route, and you never went for the Kickstarter route. You always went for the classical publishing. Let's start. My first question is publishing easy? Second question is, why don't go to Kickstarter and go to retail or pre-order solution, which you usually do?
Um, well, is publishing easy? Not in in a way, yes. But but then selling the games you have is hard. And
That's part of publishing.
I'm not
As a publisher, you
maybe
need to sell your games.
yeah, definitely. But it's somewhat separate from publishing the game and making the game, and also making the physical copies of the game. But but yeah, and we we also we started way before Kickstarter was a thing, and we gradually build up well, a very loyal fan base. So we started by handmade copies, and then part by part the components became more professional. Lots of stories about that as well.
Yeah.
About optimizing the production process when we still had a big group of friends, which came together for one day and assembled all the games. We don't do that anymore. But other than that, we already have a big loyal fan base that's used to our pre-order system. So that's what we use, and Kickstarter or the crowdfunding platforms may well look like a good alternative, but I think they're also a lot of work because they need a lot of attention, and well, as as we said, well, I think just before the interview started, when we were chatting a bit, people on the internet can be quite mean, and a, a lot of those get into Kickstarter comments, etc. You need to deal with them and have good answers, and it's just a lot of work. And why why change work a working
System.
way of
Okay.
working a working system into something that you don't know and think you won't enjoy doing a lot. I don't think I want to run a Kickstarter. Look, looking at the whole food chain, deluxe kick, well, crowdfunding, I was very glad I was not running that one.
Yeah. Well, I won't get into that. We'll move. So let's finish this with. Did you ever thought about just designing and not also publishing your own games, to let someone else publish your games?
Yeah, we tried at the start even. When we had Roads and Boats, and even Buzz, we talked to some publishers who who did who didn't want them, and other publishers wouldn't even see us. And then at some point we said, sure, we'll publish it ourselves then.
Yeah.
And then we stopped talking. We stopped asking other publishers if they would want to publish, since we had built our own brand.
Yeah. You went ahead with that. Um, Now, let's go towards the. I have a few more questions, and one is, what is fun to you?
That's that's a hard question. Fun in what way?
Yeah, I know. That's the question. It can have lots of meanings. That's why
Yeah,
that's why I'm asking the question.
exactly. I don't know if
Board game wise, of course.
yeah, yeah. No, but board game wise, I would say, and enjoying a game with friends. And for me, the friends at the table are almost more important than the game we're playing. We need they need to have some medium, and for some groups that's a big heavy game, 18xx or otherwise. For other groups that's a party game.
Yeah. Um, so this is fun. Practically, the fun part is being with your friends and enjoying that
Yeah,
type of game.
having a good time together with friends
Yeah.
through the medium of playing a board game together.
What is your most played game?
Um, well, if I
No, not your own. No. No,
I, I,
outside.
I was gonna say, if I look at my Board Game Geek statistics, my most played game is Unpublished Prototype, but in, including our own games before they're published. Um, Other than that, the top three is I think 1846 is getting up there.
I see.
There's the Lord of the Rings card game, which I
Whoa.
played a lot of solo, just
Wow.
the deck building game. I enjoyed that a lot.
I see.
Played through all the scenarios. I haven't gotten into the reprint and doing everything again.
I see.
And also also bridge, but I counting liberally.
I see.
So,
Probably since your childhood.
no, actually, I started playing bridge during my PhD,
I see. I see.
and played a lot at university, both at my PhD and afterwards while I was still working at uni.
I see. I see. And do you have a favorite game?
Not really. If you press me, I will say 18xx or one of them, but it varies day by day
I see.
which one.
But do you have a favorite designer
Um,
or someone who would you like to collaborate with?
Oh, definitely. But there's a whole bunch of them, and I'm I'm very happy I can call them friends as well. Tom Lehman, Friedemann Friese.
I see. Uh, and before we end these questions, I have one more. Would you want to add something that I might not have asked you, something that you would have wanted to talk about?
Um, I I don't think so.
Okay. Okay, so this was the first part. Now we go to the questionnaire. And this is a questionnaire that comes, you might have heard. You know that the Proust questionnaire it has two parts, one which you should do at a certain age, the other one which you do at a different age. This questionnaire comes from the Proust questionnaire. It comes through Bernard Pivot. I don't know if you've heard of him. He's a French host, and there is, I think you can find one of the questions which I made asked to Alain Delon live on French TV. And I will tell you at the end which was the question. And then it was taken by James Lipton, who did the Inside Actor Studio. And this is: I am a film director. I have watched a lot of things in my student years, and I really like this questionnaire. And I'm going to ask it to you. I ask it at the end of the interviews. And my first question is: what is your favorite word? Could be in Dutch also.
Favorite word. I don't know if I really have one. I'll say green.
Green. What is your least favorite word?
Um, that's that's even harder than picking a favorite word.
Well, yeah, I know. It's not easy. That's the idea
Yep.
of putting you on the spot.
Exactly. Oof.
Something that annoys you, something that's
I'm not. I'm not very easily annoyed. That's.
you might be a great
Or-
friend then.
Well, let's let's say inattention.
Inattention.
Yeah, or distraction.
Distraction. Okay. What what turns you on creatively, emotionally, spiritually?
Well, this discovering new things.
And what turns you off?
Well, retreading water essentially. So doing the same thing over and over again.
What is your favorite drug?
Chocolate.
What is your favorite curse word?
Bobbins.
Bobbins. That's nice. Um, what sound or noise do you love?
Um, that's also surprisingly hard. Let's let's take an easy one out and say laughter.
What sound or noise do you hate?
Crying.
Which profession outside the one you already do would you like to attempt?
Um, Well, let's say I already am a game designer. I've been a scientist, mathematician.
Yeah, something would you like, which you.
Yes, exactly. So I'm trying to think outside the box here. Well, let's let's take an easy one and say astronaut.
What profession you would not like to attempt?
Cleaning, cleaner.
Yeah. And my last question is, if heaven exists, what do you accept God to say? What do you expect God to say to you when you arrive at the pearly gates?
Oof. That's that's a hard question to finish with.
Well,
I have no idea.
this is what he says to you. I have no idea.
No. Probably who are you? But no, but let's say what do you want to play a game?
Try to play a game. Yeah, that's not bad. It's not a bad line. Um, Jeroen, thank you very much for accepting to do this interview. I hope
Thank you for having me.
I hope you had a good time. I hope you felt fine here on on our virtual gaming room in our virtual chairs. And hopefully we can see each other in Essen and maybe speak more. For me, it was a lot of fun doing this interview with you.
Yeah, hopefully it was worth the wait. It was definitely a lot of fun for me.
Well, it was, and I am very happy now that I have both parts of Splatterspellen with their stories on my on the channel. Thank you again for doing this. I will kindly ask you. I will do the outro, and I'll kindly ask you to not close the say a few words at the end
Yeah.
before we close the connection. So again, I will thank Jeroen for doing this interview, taking the time to do this interview. I want to thank everyone who came and watched live. I will thank anyone who will come and watch after the fact. If you like what you see, please like, share, and subscribe, because you know it keeps the internet alive and keeps us going. And yeah, this is about it with this interview. We'll have some more soon. Hopefully I can make some announcements, but until then we'll see each other in playthroughs, and I wish you what it says here: play a lot, play loads, have fun, folks. And bye bye, fine folks, wherever in the world you are.